Is the primary setting of the poem a country cottage? What creature is central to the poem? A lizard. What time of day does the poem primarily describe? Night. What emotions does the poem mostly convey about the night? Calm and patience. What is noted as great in the poem at the start? The indolence of the speakers. What literary device is used in the phrase our eyes are heavy? Personification. The phrase limbs prepared to stretch or love is an example of what? Imagery. What literary device can be seen in he was more alive than us, hyperbole. The lizard teaches the speakers patience is an example of symbolism. The repetition of the phrase from time to time can be classified as repetition. The overall mood of the poem is best described as calm and reflective. The poem can be classified as a lyrical poem. The closing line suggests that lizard's purpose is to hunt cockroaches. The tone of the poem is observant and peaceful. The poem speaker could be described as a patient observer. Who is the author of In a Country Cottage? Nissim Ezekiel. In which language was the poem originally written? English. The poem is primarily about a nature, calmness, and observation. The poem belongs to which century's poetry? 20th century. Why do the speakers go to the bed early in the poem? Their eyes are heavy and limbs ready to rest or love. The lizard's silent energy contrasts with the speaker's indolence and inactivity. The lizard's teachings in the poem symbolize patience and quiet presence. The phrase our indolence was great means they were very lazy or sluggish. The poem suggests that life in the country cottage is slow and contemplative. The lizard in the poem can be seen as a symbol of steadfastness and survival. What type of imagery is most dominant in the poem? Visual imagery. The poem illustrates patience as an active living quality, which is the best description of the speaker's attitude towards the lizard, admiring and reflective. The poem is written in a free verse. The phrase our eyes are very heavy uses personification. The phrase his aim was only the death of cockroaches is an example of irony. The poem's use of grey to describe the lizard suggests a dull and lifeless color yet vibrant with energy. The poem's tone is awestruck and contemplative. The phrase we could not help but glance at him implies curiosity and fascination. What does indolence means as used in the poem? Laziness or sluggishness. The phrase immobile, tense and grey describe the lizard as still and alert. The word patience in the poem means tolerance or endurance. Which word best describes the lizard's presence, silent and energetic? What literary device is our eyes were heavy, limbs prepared to stretch or love? Symbolism and imagery. What lesson do the speakers learn from the lizard? To be patient and still. What is the poem's view of nature? Calm and instructive. The contrast between the lizard and the speakers highlights the difference between activity and inactivity. What might why might Ramanujan has chosen a lizard as the poem's central figure? Because it's not Ramanujan, it will be Nissim Ezekiel. Again a printing mistake. Why might Ezekiel have chosen a lizard as the poem's central figure? Because it symbolizes quiet survival and patience. The poem ends on the note of acceptance and quiet observation. The phrase he waited for the dark can be seen as symbolic of waiting for the right moment. The use of little language and the short lines suggest simplicity and calmness. The poem structure can be described as irregular free verse with no fixed rhyme. The poet's focus on a minute detail like a lizard indicates an appreciation of the small moments in life. The poem reflects the Indian rural setting through description of animals and quiet nights. What do the speakers find when they awake in the morning? The job was done, clean and complete. What is implied by the job was done? The lizard had hunted the cockroaches. The word stout used to describe the lizard suggests strong and sturdy. The phrase and the stout lizard gone indicates the lizard has left after completing its tasks. What tone does the phrase clean and complete convey? Satisfaction and completeness. The lizard's departure suggests its work is temporary and purposeful. What literary device is used in the job was done, clean and complete? Alliteration. The job referred to the poem can be best described as catching cockroaches. The description of the morning suggests a feeling of revival and renewal and order. The lizard's leaving can be interpreted as closing a chapter of quiet observation. The speaker's expectation that the job was done suggests they are observant and patient. The phrase we found as we accepted indicates confirmation of their belief. What does the lizard symbolize in the ending part of the poem? Diligence and effective action. The poem's ending can be seen as a closure to the night's quiet events. The phrase stout lizard gun contains an element of finality. The poem emphasizes the lizard's role as a predator and protector. The lizard's actions in the poem are best described as purposeful and efficient. What mood is created by the description of the morning? Peaceful and content. The poem's last line highlights the theme of quiet accomplishment. What literary term best describes the smooth transition from night to morning in the poem? Contrast.